The senator from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, Social Security is under attack. It is under attack from Donald Trump. Social Security is under attack from Republicans. Social Security is under attack from Elon Musk. Social Security is under attack from greedy billionaires who want to loot Americans' hard-earned money to line their own pockets. Trump, Musk, and Doge know they can't come right out and cut Social Security. That would be wildly unpopular. Instead, they are revving up their chainsaw, cutting staff, reducing services, closing offices, and lying about the program, finding so-called fraud where no fraud exists. Here is their reckless roadmap. First, lie about the program to undermine it with the public. Second, use those lies as an excuse to gut Social Security and cut benefits. Third, raise the retirement age and privatize Social Security, handing your benefits over to Wall Street, making the billionaires richer and our seniors poorer. It's a very shameful plan. Now, cue Elon Musk and his Doge lackeys who descended on the Social Security Administration claiming there are millions of dead people over the age of 150, over the age of 200, over the age of 360 years. They're claiming that people born in 1665 are claiming Social Security benefits, that they're fraudulently applying for benefits. The only problem with what they're saying is none of it is true. They're just lying. Former inspectors general and Social Security Administration leaders have never found any of this phantom fraud. None of it. But following the Trump playbook, Musk, Doge, and Republicans have repeated this lie over and over again. Again, the key to their messaging on Social Security is lying about Social Security. That is their campaign plan. So Trump, in his State of the Union address, he repeated the lie, telling the country that there were millions of people fraudulently receiving Social Security benefits. That's the Trump way. If at first you don't succeed, lie, lie, lie again. And while Trump and Musk see 200-year-old ghosts, 360-year-old ghosts collecting Social Security benefits, they're gutting the Social Security Administration to the bare bones. That lie of massive fraud in Social Security is now their excuse to make changes that could force grandma and grandpa and people with disabilities to travel more than 100 miles to sign up for Social Security benefits. They want to make it as tough as possible for grandma and grandpa, for people with disabilities to collect Social Security. Just make it logistically very difficult. The Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month. So they bring in all the Doge boys who are supposed to be genius, AI, bringing efficiency, to the government. The Social Security website crashed 4 times in 10 days just in the past month. But Trump and Musk, they won't stop there. They're also cutting the phone lines. By the end of this month, telephone services could be eliminated at the Social Security Administration, with assistance only offered online or in person or at a field office. So good luck, Grandma and Grandpa. Sorry you didn't take that computer course 40 years ago. Sorry that you're 85 now. Can't call in any longer. You're going to have to figure out how to do everything online. It's just another way of making it harder and harder for people who are older to be able to collect. The person running the agency right now has already pushed out more than 12% of the staff, and he has admitted that the agency's phone service, quote, sucks. That's what he said, talking about his own work at the agency. Yeah, you did such a great job on it that now you yourself say that the phone service sucks. Excellent work. You are deliberately trying to make the system fail. And he said the quiet part out loud, that Musk and Doge are the ones really in charge at the Social Security Administration. And they have one primary goal right now: find fraud, despite the truth that they have not reported any yet, because there's so little to find at the Social Security Administration. But by hollowing out the agency, cutting staff, closing offices, and making it harder to access benefits, the Trump administration is effectively cutting Social Security benefits. But if you complain too loudly, the Trump administration might just accuse you of being a fraudster as well. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, another billionaire, said last week that his 94-year-old mother-in-law wouldn't complain about missing her Social Security check, and that the only person who would complain would be a fraudster themselves, because they'd be so upset, the fraudster. But his 94-year-old mother-in-law, she wouldn't complain. Maybe if everyone had a billionaire as a father-in-law, maybe you wouldn't complain. But that's not 99.999% of all people receiving Social Security benefits. They'd be very concerned if that check did not, in fact, arrive. Maybe if your son-in-law is a billionaire, you can afford to miss a check. But how out of touch can Lutnick be? Because without Social Security, more than 22 million people would be thrown into poverty. Get that number? Without the check they get each month, 22 million Americans would go into poverty. And that includes over 16 million seniors, including 268,000 in Massachusetts, and nearly 1 million children. Nearly 1 in 4 people drawing Social Security rely on it for 100% of their income. Let me say that again, very important to internalize the reality of our country in 2025. 1 in 4 people receiving a Social Security check rely upon it for 100% of all of their income. If that gets stopped, if people don't have access to it, those people immediately go to poverty because they're living check to check. And more than 2/3 of seniors rely on it for the majority of their income. That would have been my mother and father, my father who drove a truck for the Hood Mill Company. They were dependent upon Social Security. That was not a big pension in the old days. So you needed Social Security just to make it by week, month by month. 55% of all Social Security beneficiaries are women. This increases to 66% for beneficiaries aged 85. So 2/3 of all people receiving a Social Security check over 85 are women. That's who they're playing with here. They truly are playing with grandma, her life, her security, what she earned, what she deserves. Social Security would do to women who only still earn 82 cents on a man's dollar and live longer after retiring. They would perform an enormous disservice for all of those women. A greater proportion of women's retirement income comes from Social Security. For the millions of seniors that rely almost entirely on Social Security for their income, a missed check means missed meals, missed medications, missed rent payments. That is who they are in our country right now. Social Security is not rife with fraud. It's not a Ponzi scheme, as Elon Musk has said. It isn't something that can just be, quote, turned off, as Trump's acting director threatened to do in response to a court order blocking Doge access to your private Social Security information. He threatened to turn it off unless all this information about every one of us in the Social Security system was turned over to Doge. Well, where we all worked, the income that we earned at every single job, that's all there in order for Social Security to make the right decisions about how big the check is that we get. And Trump's acting director of Social Security threatened, in response to a court order blocking Doge access to your private Social Security, to just basically turn it all off. So this is, bottom line, a huge threat to Americans, to seniors, to people with disabilities in our nation. It's a direct assault. The nominee to be the next Social Security Administrator, Frank Bisignano, today, before the Senate, refused to undo any of the harmful actions taken by Doge. He refused to even acknowledge Doge was behind the cuts and closures. He refused to call benefits delayed, benefits denied. He refused to commit to adequate staffing levels for the agency. For these reasons, I'm refusing to give him my vote to be our next administrator. I'm voting no on the administrator. I'm saying absolutely unqualified for this job because he doesn't understand the core of this intergenerational responsibility and obligation that we have to seniors in our country. The Trump administration can tell lie after lie, but Americans know the truth. Social Security is a promise we make to current and future generations. For our parents, for our grandparents, and for all of us, the assurance of Social Security means that we need never worry about living out our final years in poverty in the United States of America. That's why Social Security was put on the books in the 1930s, because of the rampant poverty among seniors in our nation. People have contributed to Social Security throughout their entire lives. Social Security is not an entitlement, it is an earned benefit. But this isn't a new formula that Trump and Musk and Republicans have come up with. In 2005, President George W. Bush and Republicans tried to privatize Social Security. Can you imagine what would have befallen our nation's seniors if George W. Bush and Republicans had succeeded, and then millions of Americans' nest eggs have been wrapped up in the 2008 stock market crash? Our greatest generation would have become a destitute generation. Today, Donald Trump and his billionaire advisors, like Secretary Lutnick, have said that a recession wouldn't be so bad, that it would be, quote, worth it. A recession would be worth it. Ask people who lived through the Great Depression, like my parents. How'd that go for them and their families? I'll tell you what, in my family, didn't go well. Set my family on both sides, my father's and mother's side, back an entire generation. That's how devastating the Great Depression was. So tell the retired workers, tell their survivors, tell the vulnerable, the poor, the disabled Americans for whom Social Security isn't just a budget line, it's a lifeline. But Trump only cares about his billionaire donors' bottom lines. Social Security has paid out benefits on schedule for nearly 70 years. But to keep our promise in the future, changes to the program will have to be made. To shore up Social Security, we must require millionaires and billionaires like Donald Trump, Howard Lutnick, and Elon Musk to pay as much into Social Security as everyone else. It's time they pay their fair share and stop trying to pay for their tax cuts with the earnings of those who built this country. It is essential that Social Security be preserved for today's retirees and for future generations. It has served as a never-fail insurance program for every single American worker's retirement since the program's inception. It is the crown jewel of the New Deal, and Republicans have been going after it from day one. Republicans haven't been able to destroy Social Security yet, and we're not going to let Trump and Musk, billionaires, succeed in looting all of that Social Security money so they get a tax break. The health of all of those seniors is more important than the wealth of the billionaires who will benefit from the slashes to the Social Security system, which they are playing. Elon Musk said the truth about how they view Social Security. He called it a Ponzi scheme. That's all you have to know about the Republican Party. They opposed Social Security when it was put on the books in the 1930s, and they've always harbored an ancient animosity towards Social Security, waiting for the moment, waiting for the opportunity where they could slash Social Security to send us back to before the 1930s when families were gutted, when there was no income for grandma and grandpa. That is what we're talking about. But I'm going to tell you this, they're going to have a fight on their hands. We're going to stand up and fight for them. We're going to make sure that Social Security is preserved. We're going to make sure that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, that the Republican Party does not destroy Social Security as we know it today. They have a fight on their hands. I'm ready for this fight. I'm ready to defend the seniors in our nation. I'm ready to protect the disabled who depend upon Social Security. This is the time to have this showdown, and they're going to regret ever putting Social Security into play. I am ready for this fight. Mr. President, I yield back the balance of my time.